Welcome back to Celtic State of Mind. I'm John Dykes, and this afternoon I'm joined by Amy Canavan. We will have Tony Haggerty on the show at some point during the next hour. We're here to talk about all things Celtic. We've got the whole weekend to talk about, Amy, and obviously we're chewing our fingertips and our fingernails rather to the bit, week in, week out. This is the way it's going to be. So yesterday we go to the game, and obviously there's another game ongoing elsewhere that is important, and it's the first time, I was just saying to you, for ages that I am actively looking over my shoulder at the opponent, the challenger, because this is the first title challenge we've had since the Celtic State of Mind started in 2017. And it was advantage Celtic. So going into the game yesterday, knowing that there had been points dropped at Tannadice, how did it make you feel as a Celtic fan? Did it add to the tension? Did it add to the fear? Because I think there was a bit of tension around about Celtic Park yesterday.
Yeah, I think it does, because you just think, right, this is a massive opportunity, and if you don't, take advantage of it, then you just think this could be a total momentum shift, in the other direction. Even though you're looking at obviously what happened at Tannadice, and for that's a poor result, frankly. But if you look at it from a Celtic perspective, then it's kind of that, Rangers could gain a point but still come out almost on top, because if Celtic can't take advantage of that, then they're going to take some, belief, especially considering as well what happened on Thursday night. I think many of us thought that would certainly be a boost, because you can't really underestimate how massive an achievement that really was. No matter how poor anyone wants to say Dortmund are, to still go away in Europe, and do what they've done, that could easily have been a season-defining, season-changing moment. But came back, and it didn't seem to be that way with only a point at Tannadice. So it does add to it, because that then all eyes are on Celtic. If they weren't already, they are certainly now. And everybody in the league is looking for that, because you think, right, well then we're talking about, how's Rangers mindset, how's Rangers mentality, then it reflects exactly the same as Celtic. Will they, one, bounce back from Thursday, and will they, two, now capitalise on this glaring opportunity? So thankfully in the end they did so, but I think it certainly sent a few additional nerves, I'd say, around the team as well as the stadium, and as obviously comments suggested yesterday, then it was something that the team were extremely aware of.
Yes, despite what the club were trying to say. If you want to get yourself on the audio platforms, or in fact on the YouTube channel, because they do also upload to YouTube, we put out the post-match press conference after the game yesterday. So it's up on the channel. It was on the YouTube channel. Natasha Miko was in there talking to Giakoumakis and Ange Postecoglou, and Giakoumakis made absolutely there was no doubt in his mind, certainly, that they knew Rangers had dropped a couple of points at Tannadice. And I think that dropping a couple of points at Tannadice, you obviously go into that game believing you can win it, but it's a worse result to drop points at home. And I think that's what you're saying there. It would have been, any kind of form of momentum had there been a 2-2 draw at Celtic Park yesterday, would have been in favour of Rangers, even though they've gone up there and dropped the points. I totally get that. So we're keeping an eye on that game, Amy, before Celtic kick-off. And it was like, it seemed, although I've not watched the Dundee United game back, it seemed like wave after wave of attack. And it seemed as though the ref was going to play until Rangers scored a goal as well, incidentally. But also, we can't go through that game, and we're not going to labour the United game before we get on to Celtic. We can't go away from that and finish talking about it unless we speak about Charlie Mulgrew's post-match interview. Did you see that as well?
I did, yeah. I'll be honest, I was in the office yesterday, so that went down quite a treat. So, yeah, it was, I think it's quite funny. Charlie as well, he knows Brian pretty well, Brian McLaughlin. Obviously, Charlie spends a lot of time within the BBC as well. He does a lot of sports scene, a lot of sports sound sort of stuff. So, he was playing to the crowd. Absolutely go for it. I do think he'll watch it back, perhaps, and he'll certainly see that there was the claim there. It's totally up to him what he sees it as. At the end of the day, Rangers never got it, so I don't really care. I
know. Are you making that up? That's going to be a meme. Yeah, that's going to be a meme.
It's just his monotone tone as well.
Aye. Big gorgeous Chaz. Now, we're not going to labour the United game, but yes, what a performance by Siegrist. He is one that I think would be on our radar at some point, but certainly not to take the place of Joe Hart, who is, for me, when you're looking at yesterday's game again, I don't remember a save being made. I had to watch it again this morning because when I'm at the game, in terms of analysing a match, Amy, it's not happening because I'm involved in the emotion of the match. And I know that I'm getting up the next day to actually watch it and take notes and try and form some kind of opinion on individual performances, the team performances, decisions made, and how this is going to affect decisions being made on Thursday night. Spoke to a couple of Celtic fans this morning who are of the view that, we don't go on Thursday night gung-ho, we don't go in with a full-strength squad. For a moment, I don't believe for a moment that Ange Postecoglou is going to share that view. I think he's going to be looking at the tie. It's half-time. He's going to go for an early goal in Norway. We'll talk about this because I still think he believes he can win that. Do you think that is a distraction? When you look at yesterday, when you look at the fact that, we're going toe-to-toe with the bottom of the league club, and they might have had a new manager bounce, despite the kind of chat around Matt McGee's appointment. But I'll tell you what, they went toe-to-toe with us with regards to the scoreline yesterday when it was sitting at 2-2. There are going to be afternoons like that. And if it doesn't work out and we don't score that late goal, then people will be looking at, what we can be doing without these games during the week. We had the conversation with Jim Orr on Friday. What's your take on that?
I don't want it to be a distraction. I don't. I want Celtic competing in Europe. This is now the third tier of European football, so I really do expect Celtic to be, to be making the latter stages of these competitions. So it is a little bit frustrating, and I wouldn't. Now I need to try and phrase this right. I do expect Ange Postecoglou, and I hope Ange Postecoglou goes in with the belief of still trying to turn this tie around. I don't want it to be, just go out and kind of just get the 90 minutes played. No, I do want Celtic to compete to try and, turn this tie around. I do think it'll be extremely difficult because I was extremely unimpressed with Celtic on Thursday. It was a really, really poor it was just a really poor performance. I thought Bodo Glimt were impressive. I was extremely impressed by them, but I still think Celtic made them look a lot better than they even actually were. I do think we underestimated them, but I think they were made to look even greater by how poor Celtic were. So it's not going to be an easy tie, but I would still expect Celtic to go out and at least, attempt to continue through, because I understand especially in this season of all seasons and whatnot, I get why people could think it could be a distraction, that the Sunday, Thursday, or Thursday, Sunday, more like, it could be tricky. But I think at a club like Celtic, you should be expected to be able to, compete at that level, compete with that kind of demand of games. And we're now talking at how, I'm not going to say we've got total depth in every position, but we do have space and room for rotation. So, this is when you utilise, this kind of rotation. So for me, I do want Celtic to keep going in Europe. I do. And I don't think it should be seen as a distraction, because at a club like Celtic, you should be expected to be competing. We're talking about trying to compete in the top tier of European football and Champions League next season. And this is us, struggling and perhaps limping out at the third tier. That's a worry for me.
I'm the same. Call it ambition, call it short-sightedness, I'm not sure, because Jim disagrees, and that's great, because obviously on ACSOM there's so many contributors, Amy. We're going to have a different wide range of views, and Jim would rather that last season we weren't losing players to injury and COVID in the Europa League because we needed them for the league campaign, and he thinks exactly the same this time round. I'm so much more on the view that let's get the experience. There's players that need that European experience, because the final aim this season is to win the league and get into the Champions League, and we don't want stage fright once we get there. So let's try and get as much European experience, and a lot of these players don't have great European experience. So I am approaching that game on Thursday night. We'll talk about it at the end of the show once Tony joins us, basically saying it's half-time. They've not seen the best of Celtic yet, and we didn't see the best of Celtic yesterday either, it's got to be said. It wasn't a vintage performance. You're looking at the conditions, the weather conditions, the swirling rain and the wind. Both teams are up against that. Celtic like to play football on the deck anyway. But you've got players like Haggerty who like the long-range diagonal pass. It's kind of cutting out that kind of pass because of the conditions. But we're going into that game, And we know that a win will put us, it'll give us a nice wee cushion. It'll put us 3 points ahead in the title race. Giakoumakis, after the game, claims that the Celtic players knew exactly what had happened at Ibrox. That's not the message that the club indeed wanted to put out there. I thought it was as much ado about nothing when I listened back to the interview. I'm going to be totally honest with you, Amy. I didn't know what everybody was getting wound up about. But I'm going to bring in Martin Davey. Giakoumakis should just do the talking on the park. He has given me grey hair. What will be, just keep winning. Yeah, and I seen a lot of comments last night on Twitter saying, right, he should keep that in the dressing room. And quite a few of the ACSOM contributors, both on social media and within the WhatsApp group, were all of that opinion. Just keep your views behind closed doors. You're writing team talks and all this kind of stuff, Amy. Where do you stand on that? I'm looking at last season where we disappeared without a whimper. And there was no confidence and there was no self-belief. And I'm seeing a guy there who's come under a bit of heat. I've criticised him in the past. Amy, know that bothers him. But, I mean, he's come under a bit of pressure. And he scored a hat-trick and he's won us a game late on. And you can imagine the emotion. You know what it's like after a game being on the podcast, right? When you're a Celtic fan talking about Celtic, good or bad. And that emotion runs through. And I'm just looking at Giakoumakis thinking, right, he's thrown down the gauntlet. I don't have an issue with that. What's your take on it?
I'm very, very split. When it first came out, I just huffed and puffed and kind of done that. I do just want the talking to be done on the pitch. Nothing more than, I just think, I'm so more than happy that confidence is within the squad, and I do like that. But I just want it to, be kept in house. On the flip side, I know a lot of the retweets and Twitter obviously blew up last night after it. Were saying, well, this is just ammunition for Rangers. You pin this on the dressing room wall. I don't know who made the initial comment, if it was perhaps Brian or Jim, but there was somebody in the group chat last night, because that was kind of my worry. And they went, well, if that's the ammunition that Rangers are needing, and it's not, to go and, just go and defend their title, the bounty of next season's Champions League, if they need that kind of ammunition, then that's a worry for them. And, Celtic are, that's not our issue kind of thing. I really described that well. But when I heard them say that, then I thought, all right, okay, maybe it's not as big a deal, because at first that's what I worried about. And I thought, oh God, this is just going to come back and bite you in the bum, to be honest. But if that's what they're needing, then that's perhaps maybe more of a slight on their mentality. But if you still had to ask me yesterday, would you rather have come out and say that or not, then I would say no. I just don't like that kind of thing, because I do just think, even if it's not ammunition for the players, I just think it's ammunition for other fans. I don't like that. I just want it to be kept in house. Do your talking on the pitch, win it at the end of the season, and then you can say whatever you want. Say that in January, we had the confidence after, the Derby win that we were going to go and win the title. We knew it. We had all this. But I think as well, when you've kind of put in a performance like that wasn't the most, gut busting, and it perhaps wasn't the most dominant, and there was a lot of nerves kind of creaking in, and you almost very, very closely only picked up a point against Dundee at home, then I think if you came out, and thrashed the side 6-7-0, then I probably actually wouldn't have cared too much. But I think just the manner of results recently, performances, I would just much have rather defeat. He kept it in house.
The thing, Amy, right, before the game, and people are giving their predictions and all this kind of stuff, I'm hearing scorelines like 5-0 Celtic, 4-5, all this kind of stuff. And you're looking at the situation thinking, well, on any given day, you look at the problems that we've had against Ross County up in Dingwall. You look at the fact that we needed a last-minute goal against Dundee United. And teams can give us problems. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And you go into that game yesterday, yeah, there's momentum because Rangers have dropped a couple of points. We've not been at our best, I don't think, for a few games. I mean, the Rangers game was just like almost the pinnacle in terms of performance. We've not really quite matched that since then. And you're going into that game yesterday and you think to yourself, well, it was far from the scintillating soccer that Ange has served up time and time again. I mean, the last time we played Dundee at home, it was 6-0. We won at a canter, and I don't even think Ange's philosophy had seeped into the players' heads at that stage anyway. And I'm looking at that game yesterday, and I've got to say, I liked his passion. I did. I liked Giakoumakis' passion after it. He's come in for stick. And you've seen it when he scores his third goal and the top's off and he's just, that primal scream, the whole thing. So let's talk about the game then, because obviously Dundee took the lead and it was against their running play. I mean, Celtic had dominated possession up to that point. And I'm watching the game thinking to myself, there was a few changes obviously to the side. And what I liked about Ralston, even though I think Jota's more effective on the left, mate, I don't think he had a bad game on the right yesterday. I think that he had a lot of joy down the right, but a lot of that's down to Ralston. The way that he teams up with Jota and O'Reilly yesterday was brilliant. There was, there was a trio of them, and there was a lot of interplay, and they were creating space down the right hand side, and there was a lot of crosses coming in, both from Jota and from Ralston. We didn't see that down the left, and that, watching the game before the goal was scored from an offensive perspective, I'm looking at that thinking it's really weighed down the right hand side. You've got Juranovic, who I think every time he gets the ball, he's looking to be offensive. He's looking to play the forward pass quickly. He's always looking for that. But there was a lack of link-up play between Juranovic and Maeda down the left-hand side. And for most of the game, and this isn't me looking for someone to blame, I'm just looking at things that we can maybe do better. I thought that Maeda spent most of the game facing his own goal. And for someone who's playing out wide, that's a bad sign. I remember Stevie Archibald, who wasn't a winger, incidentally, used to say that your opponent shouldn't know what number's on your back. And that was always his mentality. You've always got to be facing the opposition's goal. But when I'm looking at Maeda, he's facing Joe Hart virtually the whole game. He's not running onto passes. There isn't passes going down the channels because he's not creating the space. Was that your kind of observation offensively? Is that what that was my view in the first half, that I would have been critical of Celtic? That's where things were breaking down. It was all down the right and we were getting very little down the left.
I think that's probably been kind of what it's been like for the last few games. I think it's either one or other flank is kind of what I'm getting at. I think we're struggling right now to totally and utterly switch play. I think on I can't know. Was it Thursday or last Sunday? There was one, but no, it was Thursday against Bodo Glimt, and it was Abada was just hanging out. Absolutely nobody going near him, and it was just everything was going with Jota, and he wasn't having the best of games. So I think struggle. It's either one or other. I really don't think that Celtic are utilising both to their full strength. So I do understand what you mean. And I don't want to criticise Maeda at all. And I think that from a few people, there's been too much criticism on him. There's been too much comparison with Kyogo as well. It's totally different stages of their seasons, never mind our own. But I do understand what you mean, the back to goal. I think there was a lot of times in the last two games in particular that he had to drop into the midfield just to even get a touch on the ball. But in the exact same breath, really, you can say what a pivotal role he played in the second goal. But I get what you're saying. I do. Perhaps that he's not the most comfortable out wide, although he didn't really show it. Because I think it's because he has got that gut busting pace, and he should be able to and is able to beat any defender in the league, really. So it's more a frustration than a criticism, because you just think, just go for it, pal, because you're going to beat every single man. Nobody's going to catch you. And I think it shows, that his delivery is pretty decent as well because of that second goal. It's a horrendous mistake from the goalkeeper, but to still, get to the byline, get a driven ball in with a fair amount of speed. But I do get it, and I just think it's a general frustration right now that Celtic aren't utilising both their flanks to the best of their ability, and it is either one or other.
This is the thing, again, I keep saying that once we get the kind of five offensive players all firing at the same time, that's frightening for any opposing team. It doesn't seem to have happened, like you say, all at the same time. And once we get the three pillars of ACSOM's Monday Bulletin firing, then I'm pretty sure, as Tony waits in the wings, that it will be an improvement. So here he comes, Tony Haggerty. Welcome to the show, Tony. You're coming in 20 minutes in.
A wee bit of work to do, so yeah.
That's absolutely fine. But
that's maybe debatable in some people's eyes, isn't it? So
yeah, I mean, we're about 25 minutes into the game at the moment, Tony, and Dundee are just about to take the lead, which is probably a good time to bring up Paddy's comment. why is our defending from set pieces so rank rotten? Well, there's no doubt that it is. There is absolutely no doubt that it is rank rotten from set pieces. I think that even Ange has spoken about that, following the fact that we've shipped 2 goals to a team who weren't any real threat offensively. I mean, I said before, I can't remember Hart making a save. He got a couple of balls played back to him by Carter Vickers, etc. But he's ended up losing 2 goals. And the first of those goals, again, I'm not hanging anybody out to dry here, but when you look at both free kicks, who gave them away? Carl Starfelt. And it's something that he needs to cut out of his game. 25, 30 yards out of play, Tony, he seems like he's going in too heavy, he's too keen to try and win the ball, rather than just be a presence to force the player into a pass. And he gives away the first free kick needlessly. And then obviously we failed to defend it. How big a concern is it getting for yourself? I know you're going to, people are going to point to the defensive record domestically being the best in the league, etc., etc. But we can't defend from a set piece.
I think there's a collective responsibility here, and I include Joe Hart in this too. Can Hart come for corners? Could he have done better with a header? Maybe nitpicking because Joe Hart's been absolutely superb, but one of Carl Starfelt or Carter Vickers has to decide they're going to attack balls from corners and free kicks. Mm-hmm. One of them has to say, right, if this comes in, if this is launched in, I'm going for it. Okay, and so fine, because Ryan Sweeney ran in between your 2 central defenders and scored with a simple header. You've got 2 big guys either side of him, and not one of them took responsibility. Sorry to say, I think he's got him. Don't think, do. Attack it in the air. If Joe Hart, if that ball's coming across your 6-yard box at a corner, you entitled to ask your goalkeeper to come and punch that? I think you are. Celtic shipped 2 poor goals against Aberdeen. They shipped 2 poor goals against Dundee, put themselves under a lot of pressure, managed to get the results at the end of the day, and they've got a bit of breathing space at the top now. That is commendable. But, and then your temptation is to say, well, we get Big Julian in because he'll throw himself in front of everything and he's 6'7" and he's big. That's your temptation and your knee-jerk reaction to that. As I said the other week, we've got a duty of care to Julian. But the last few games, I've just saw a wee wobble in both Vickers and Starfelt. For me, they both wobbled and they've looked unsure of themselves and not the pretty composed and solid figures that have, that back the stats that back up the meanest defence in the league. But when you're shipping goals to the likes of Aberdeen and Dundee at the business end of the season, that is quite concerning. You can't rely on your forward players to dig you out a hole all the time and do it late, week in, week out. Yeah, Ange says it all the time. There's things they have to do better. And one of those things they have to do better is they have to defend better. And you're not asking guys to do something that's alien to their nature. You know me, see if the ball's in the deck, clear it. See if the ball's in the air, go and attack it and win it. Track runners. I'm not a defender, but even I know these things, and Amy will be the same. Surely that's a prerequisite for a defender. You track runners, you contest balls in the air, you slide in when it's on the deck, and they do a lot of these things well, but there's still something missing from their armoury, isn't there? Which is why they're constantly shipping goals. And set pieces is an Achilles heel, but that's a hangover from previous regimes as well. Mm-hmm. So there's an inability there to cope with set pieces, and I don't know why. Considering that can't profit from set pieces themselves.
No, it's on both sides. It's on both sides, Tony. And when you're looking at Starfelt, and he has had criticism, this isn't me singling him out, because I actually think beyond giving away 2 needless, and they were needless free kicks. I mean, often someone will take someone out and you think, right, he's done the right thing there. Even to take a booking at times, you take one for the team. But both those free kicks for me were needless. He's given them away. He's put us under the pressure that we don't want to be under, because we know how poor we have been with the set pieces. But actually, over the piece, watching the game back this morning, Tony, I thought Starfelt was okay. I thought he played pretty well. And then there was comments during the game that Carter Vickers is the strongest player at Celtic by some distance, and that was Greg Taylor that said that. So you know that he can compete and he should be winning a lot more of these aerial duels when the ball's flighted in. But I take your point, and I'm loath to criticise Joe Hart, but he is the cornerstone of that whole situation, isn't he? And he should be the guy that's commanding at the back. And I just think that the 2 goals were far too easy for Dundee. They were far too easy. And once they score that goal, at that point, Amy, I'm looking at it thinking, it's 1-0, but I don't think for a minute we're not going to get back our noses back in front. And that is the benefit of having such an array of offensive players, not only in your starting 11, but sitting on the bench, which I think became pretty important later on in the game. Now, Stephen McGonigal is coming in on YouTube. Good afternoon, guys. Nerves are jangling again, but 3 points, I will take that every week. I said that on the way home, Stephen. I said that, you know what, it's not great because you get the nerves jangling, but if we get another 11 games like that, I'll take them all day long. And when we're looking at the game as well, Tony, I don't know about you guys, right? But if I'm at the game, I can't analyse it. I'm just watching the game. I'm just caught up in the emotion, and there's nothing I'm taking away from that game that I can then speak about in the ACSOM Bulletin the following day. Absolutely no way. And I've got to watch the game that following day, knowing that the score's 3-2 and there's no emotion involved, and then I can start maybe pinpointing areas that we can do better. Feed the Bear, welcome back to the show. You're watching on YouTube. It's a lovely Monday, and hopefully we'll have loads of lovely Mondays between now and the end of the season as well. KS caretakers, yeah, isn't it good for the old ticker? Absolutely. And IH's decorating, 3 clear and 11 to play. Any win at this stage is a great win. No complaints from me, as we are in a great position, especially when you look back to when Ange arrived. And I totally take that into consideration. We're in a situation now where it's in our hands. Now, Tom Rogic, just a couple of weeks ago, Amy spoke about, we're used to this. We've been at the top of the pile for a decade. Did he say mate? I'm not sure. He probably did. And I do have a confidence in the Celtic side, albeit it's a new side. It's a new collection of players together. I have a confidence that we can stay where we are, at the top of the tree, at the top of the pile. But Amy and I had a discussion, Tony, before you came in, about the distraction. Jim Orr calls it a distraction of the European football. And we're looking towards Thursday night. What's your thoughts at the moment? Because, you know, Ange just said it's half-time. It's quite clear he's going to be tackling that game like he can win it. I wouldn't expect any less from Ange Postecoglou. What's your view on it? Because we're going to be talking about the lineup and what changes you would make to the game from yesterday. And I think he's going to be going into it with his strongest side. I mean, do you think that he would think any differently from that?
Why should he think any differently? We had a bad night at the office last Thursday. It is only half-time. Why can't we be competitive in the league and Europe? I understand people's, Celtic fans' thoughts that the league is the most important trophy this season if you're going to prioritise. But why can't we go and have a rip with this on Thursday and see where it takes us? Do you think 2-0 is beyond Celtic? I don't think so. You know,
early goal's so important, Tony, isn't it?
At least get yourself back in the tie. You know, the deflected goal, I think we touched upon that, could have a crucial bearing on the overall outcome of the tie.
Yeah.
But go there and play, you know, knock out, you know the situation. You have to win by 2 to take it to extra time.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, try that and we'll see where it gets us. And he will play his strongest team because he has to play his strongest team because his strongest team has to get used to pressure situations and coping with what's coming down the line in the 11 games that are left. It's going to take total, utter bottle to win this title. He said it yesterday, they're going to have to earn it. Going to have to earn it the hard way. You know, well, you're going to have to prove your mettle here. You know, you can't show signs of collapsing. I thought they showed some mettle yesterday by getting the result, digging it out again, same way they did against Dundee United. There is there's something there with the Celtic team in terms of that spirit and attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Just used to accept not winning. You know, so yeah, Thursday night's one of those ones where us most supporters will maybe say, you know, let it go. I don't want to let it go. There's prestige that comes with winning in Europe. I want Celtic to be a team that can compete to win the titles and compete in Europe at whatever level we're in. And I know people frown upon the competition. It is what it is, and Celtic are where they are with regards to European competition. So go and make a fist of it and go and get some confidence to take you back into the next 11 games, because we need to show some real mettle, some real bottle, some real character and some real spirit. I think we've got that in abundance, but it is the business end of the season now, and that's when legs can turn to jelly and people can, players can be like rabbits in the headlights. Go and prove it to everybody why you're top of the league. Go and prove why Giakoumakis said what he did. You think you're the best team and you have the best players in every department and you think you'll win the league. Well, go and prove it then.
The thing is, Tony, we've spoken about Giakoumakis. We'll probably touch on him again before the end of the show. I wasn't too excited about what he says, to be honest with you. I like the fact that he was a bit bold. Amy disagrees, but that's the way it goes. Dominic Toy, don't know why everybody's upset. Giakoumakis' presser yesterday. I've got Richard McMinn. I am very happy with the 3 points from yesterday. I won't be trying to blame individual players when we actually win. Joe Hart is the best goalkeeper that we have. Best wishes. Yeah, I agree. I'm not looking to blame anybody, but what we try to do is eradicate these issues particularly within the defence, so that obviously they don't cost us dearly between now and the end of the season. And I'm bringing this in from Ted. Any Giakoumakis doubters now? Well, we need to talk about Giakoumakis. Of course we do. The goal, 10 minutes after going behind, we huffed and we puffed. We completely dominated that 10 minutes. It's got to be said. And Giakoumakis, it was Yotta's cross to Starfelt, who I've already criticised for giving away the free kick. On to Giakoumakis, right foot swivel, we're back in the game, it's one each. And you're looking at that, and the first thing that comes to my mind when Giakoumakis scores is Colin Watt, and what he's going to say in the WhatsApp group in relation to, I told you so, but that's what it's all about. So I gave him a bit of stick, Amy, earlier on in the season, but if I was to watch the games back that I was critical of Giakoumakis, I would stand by it. I didn't think he played well in the games. And I did have my doubts, absolutely. So, in answer to your question, where is your Giakoumakis doubters? Well, he's proven us wrong. That's what it's all about. He comes out, he saves us yesterday. What was your overall view of Giakoumakis yesterday? He scores what we call the perfect hat-trick, Amy. He done his usual thing when he's not involved in the game, where he's basically closing down defenders, giving them absolutely no room on the ball. I like that about him. I don't think we've seen the best of Maeda quite yet. We'll get to him. But what did you make overall of Giakoumakis' performance before the press conference afterwards?
He's just a nuisance, isn't he? He gets in and around, and like you say, perhaps, maybe he doesn't always have the most touches of the ball or most clinical passes or any of these, stats that kicking about. But if you actually watch the game as a whole picture, you'll see, the players that he drags away, the space that he creates for Yotta or Abada or whoever it may be. I like his off the ball work. I get a lot of stick because I talk a lot about off the ball work, and I get a lot of stick amongst my friends. Because I always say Cal McGregor's off the ball works second to none. But it's true, I think, when you watch a game as a whole and don't just focus in on, every single time that it's the man with the ball. I just think when you look at the wider picture, you think, right, well, how is Yotta getting this much room? Well, Giakoumakis has managed to drag 2 of the 3 centre-halves into this little bubble basically surrounding him. And I think that's what, unless you are really at a game or you're seeing it from a different camera angle, really, you don't get to take all these bits in, or unless you really focus on that one player. So I think he done a lot right yesterday. He gets himself in a lot of good places, and he's a penalty box striker. I don't think he's, I'm not going to put anything past him, but I don't think that, I'm not expecting to see 30-yard screamers from him, week in, week out. But do I expect him to be in the 6-yard box when there's balls coming in from the wide areas? Then absolutely. And I think he's good at getting himself in the right areas. Look at the size of him as well. When he took his shirt off yesterday, oh my God, he's absolutely ripped. Like, he is.
Oh, I never noticed, Amy.
Never noticed. Wow,
that was a good observation.
I did. But he's massive. You know what I mean? So he should be battling with every centre half. We're talking about, if Cameron Carter-Vickers is the biggest and strongest and whatnot, and he should be able to out-defend any striker in league. Well, I'm expecting Giakoumakis to be able to be fighting against any other centre-half in the league. He's an absolute unit. And I know we're talking about, plan B or whatever it is. That is like proper Route 1 football, like getting the ball up to him, like he's huge. So I think he done a lot right yesterday, and I really, really, really liked his performance actually.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny it. You really can't deny it. And Tony, I don't know if you noticed his physique when he peeled off the green and white hoops, but Amy certainly did. That's fair enough.
No way you didn't both notice. You've all seen that picture. So
I've not got great eyesight, and obviously we were a wee bit far away from it, Amy.
Giakoumakis is entitled to do what he wants when he scores a hat-trick. I tell you what was great for me, I think there was a stat that did he touch the ball 16 times? He scored 3 goals.
Like that, yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me. That would not surprise me. Yeah.
Right, but I tell you what it was. He showed why he was the Eredivisie top scorer last season, because those 3 goals were instinctive striker goals, all one touch, right? One with the right foot, one with the left foot, one with the head.
Yep.
Brilliant striker play yesterday from Giakoumakis. It really was. He stepped up to the plate when Celtic needed him most. You know, if there's doubters out there, fine. But that was a brilliant way to lead the line yesterday. Mm-hmm. Pull people away from their positions. And the first goal's brilliant. That swivel and to get it on target and that. But see the header. You can't underestimate the header. Ralston's put in a brilliant ball. Go and attack it. Well, he attacks it all right, and he makes sure he gets it on target, and he scores. And he knew how vital it was and important it was to do that. So you ask players to step up to the plate when it matters most. He did that yesterday on the field, and he should have won a penalty too. How that's never a penalty is beyond me. I don't know what the referee sees there, but he's been blatantly barged off the ball, body checked, almost a possible elbow as well. And he's a big guy. He would have contested that, no bother, with your man and probably get a header on target. But why would he go down if he wasn't bundled off the ball or barged off the ball, body check, call it what you like? So he should have won a penalty, but he was just a real nuisance yesterday. And he played the kind of striking role that we all thought was capable of him. He's a one-touch predator, instinct in the box. And see, when the ball falls to guys like that, or you get the quality in, don't be surprised that he'll provide it. He was unlucky in the games before. He came up against some really good goalkeepers, or goalkeepers who were on for him, and Seagrace, McGregor. He did everything but score. You saw his relief, the way he took his goal. And his goal against Raith Rovers as well was one touch, wasn't it? Across the box, and he let it come right across him, and he waited for Jamie McDonald to dive, and then he slotted it away. And it was relief because he was like, right, I'm back in the groove. Now he's back in the groove. So I think yesterday, I just hope it continues, and I hope he takes real confidence from it, because he is, as Amy says, he's a big unit. You couldn't have not noticed his frame when he took his top off, let's be honest, so and I like that, and I like that he's got an air of confidence about him as well. Mm-hmm. Going back to what he said, I'm probably with Amy, you keep that in-house, but if that's a measure of his confidence, so be it. But I'd rather players just did their talking on the park, which he did yesterday, so I can't argue with that. Arguing with what he said, I don't know. I just prefer people to... The managers have said all season, we'll run our own race and not say too much. So I don't think the manager will be too chuffed with Giakoumakis for what he said to the press afterwards. And so I take him off for that, but I can't fault his on-the-field contribution yesterday. It was top-notch. And I was delighted. I was delighted for him more than anything else, because you look at him and you think there is a player there. And when it all comes together, when it all comes together, you see what happened yesterday. So long may it continue, and keep it going for the next 11.
Yeah, Strange Love the Doctor. Did anyone watch Sports Scene last night? I did. They must have missed the clear elbow to Giakoumakis' face that should have resulted in a clear red, and a penalty for Celtic in the editing room, or maybe not. Well,
I think they showed the incident, but they never discussed it.
Yeah. Well, there were two. There were two incidents that, again, it's difficult at the time, but having watched them back, there's 2 penalty claims for Celtic. You've got the one where Juranovic plays the ball and there's a handball in the box, and in the same minute, the ball comes back in and Giakoumakis is impeded, and it's clear that he's impeded. I mean, it's a brutal, as you say, it's almost like a wee slam with the elbow, Tony, and he's a big unit, as we know, because he took his top off him. We know he's a big unit, and he's been slammed, and it's put him down. It's put him on the deck, which isn't easy to do, because he takes a bit of abuse, does Giakoumakis, and his hold-up play His hold-up play's been brilliant. That's been one of the best parts of his game when he wasn't scoring the goals as frequently as he now appears to be doing. So, yeah, for me, it was definitely a penalty on Giakoumakis. Amy, what was your take on that?
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Simple as that, eh?
Yeah.
Aye, penalty all day long. But again, what tends to happen is these things are not laboured all that often. So I take Strangelove the Doctor's point on that with regards to editing and going over it. Are they looking at the fact and saying, well, Celtic won anyway? I don't think that is the way that we can deal with this. We need to call out these decisions time and time again. Yesterday was frustrating because Dundee are fighting for their life. They've had a bit of a knee-jerk situation where they've, sacked their manager and brought in Mark McGee. It's gone down like a lead balloon up in Tayside. They're ahead in the game. They bring it back to 2-2. They're wasting time. Every time there's a bye kick, every time there's a throw-in, and the ref's allowing them to do it. And you're watching this as a frustrated Celtic fan thinking to yourself, if we drop points here, every single moment is a fine margin, especially when you look at the late goals Celtic have been scoring. So I think it's only right that you call out these decisions, Tony. I've basically filled my black book of bad decisions some time ago, but I think Alan Morrison is continuing with it on his blog, Celtic by Numbers. But, I mean, for me, it's a clear penalty all day long, Tony.
Yeah, that instance, certainly, I only saw it once in real time, but was Jota's handball that Mark McGee complained really badly about it. I only saw that once, and I thought they might have got away with that, but I've not seen it again, so I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
It's tricky. It's this whole natural, unnatural thing. Like, he is, it has grazed his arm lately. There's no denying that, but... Yeah. Like, it's the same way that you say, like, how's a defender meant to jump with their arms down by their side and that kind of thing? I think if you're jumping, it's a natural position. I do, but I can, to be honest, I can actually see why. Me and my dad had a massive discussion about it last night because I said, I think Celtic have got away with one, and he's like, well, no, you've got to be able to, judge the jump kind of thing. So it is it'll probably be one that is debated, and. It's tough because, like you say, you can't jump with your arms down by your side, and I think that's basically what you're wanting. I think that's what a lot of people are expecting players to do now.
But there's no debate about Celtic's penalty on Giakoumakis.
That's the shove, no.
So Jota's handball, I only seen it once, and I kind of thought, that they've got maybe a justifiable claim. But going back to your Dundee time waster, I don't expect anything else from those kind of teams, Paul. They're fighting for their lives. They're on the verge of taking a precious point, which they probably thought was not in the offing, coming to Celtic Park. So if I was Dundee, I would be using every trick in the book as well, and time wasting. And again, you're saying to the official, then, will you do something about it? And I think, was there only 3 minutes added on at the end? Is that right?
I'd need to check. The injury time. There was less time than there was up at Tannadice, that's for sure.
Well, it was 3 minutes, right? So, but if you take into account the kind of time waste and all that, there probably should have been maybe a minimum 5, something like that.
Yeah.
In the end, it didn't matter because Celtic got the winning goal. But fine margins. How many times have we spoke about fine margins? So these are things that need to be taken into consideration. But talking about, I still think that was a stonewall penalty in Giakoumakis. The Jota one. I'll take Amy's word for it because she saw it more times, or she's had a debate with her dad about it. So, as I say, I only saw it in real time, and my initial thought was, might have got away with one there, so I'll need to see it again.
Well, I'm going to go with Amy's dad on that penalty one. And if that's a penalty, then have a look at the Juranovic claim just before the Giakoumakis incident as well. Because Amy's dad's a ref, so he knows. Gary Byron, Giakoumakis, all is forgiven for the penalty miss. Yeah. I mean, I tell you what, that wasn't the thing, Tony, that led to us having a discussion about Giakoumakis, the penalty miss against Livingston. He didn't get a particularly hard time from ACSOM on the post-match that day. It was the performances following that, when he comes back into the side, that he was getting criticised for.
I think Giakoumakis was playing when he probably wasn't 100% fit, but he'd maybe said to the manager that he was fit. You know how maybe managers have discussion with players and they've said, I'm good to go. No, I think he said himself in interviews, it was a difficult time for me, and I think he used the word I wasn't healthy, which I think he means he wasn't fit. So I don't think he maybe did himself any favours. No, any footballer can miss a penalty. I think it was the lackadaisical way that he took it that Celtic supporters were really annoyed with. It was more or less the last kick of the game, and it was a pretty powder puff effort, wasn't it? You expect a confident, fit striker who's hungry for goals, you ram it or batter it into the net. I think that's what annoyed a lot of the Celtic supporters, and I don't think he ingratiated himself to them at that particular time. But it was nothing. And as you say, it was the performances after that. Well, there seemed something missing. He was a bit kind of, there was no cohesion. He looked a bit disjointed, but not anymore. He's now doing everything you expect a Celtic centre forward to do.
Yeah.
As Amy says, he's off the ball stuff. He's dragging defenders all over the place, creating space for others, and he's a nuisance when the ball comes into the box. And he's a predator, and he's shown that. And if you look at his showreel of goals from the Eredivisie, most of them are all one-touch finishes, like the one at Tynecastle, like yesterday's header, swivel, bang, that kind of stuff, or getting in where it hurts. And that's all I want from our centre forward. See if he touches the ball 16 times every game, but he scores 3 goals. I'll take that every day of the week. Brilliant, magic. If you're not involved, but be involved when it comes into the area where you need to be involved.
That's the 16 touches, Tony. I'm with you on this because it only tells you part of the story. The work he's doing off the ball, like you say, he's creating pockets of space for others. He might not be involved directly in the play, but he's contributing to it.
He did the same against Dundee United and Rangers.
Yeah,
The chances that he got that day didn't go in. But he did everything other than score, and he did it against Raith Rovers. So there is an argument to say that if it becomes between him and Maeda, then it's probably Giakoumakis.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that. Johnny Boy Soul comes in on the YouTube. The Jota handball can't be a penalty as it came off another part of his body first. That's in the rules. Penalty spot. Home of Celtic memorabilia. Jota heads it then onto the arm, so it falls under the new rules of no penalty. So your dad's right, Amy. Like I said before.
It is right. I only saw it in real time as well. We had a discussion afterwards because we watched the game separately. But no, I'll totally go with him.
Trust the old man, absolutely. Yeah. Ralston, I want to talk about Tony Ralston. You know how much I love the guy. Tony Ralston, CSC, was set up by Amy Canavan some time ago. I'm a fully fledged member, and I think yesterday he was one of these players that, when even like yesterday when the chips are down, he's a warrior, right? He's always available for a pass. You can see it with O'Reilly and Jota. Down the right-hand side, he's creating space for the pair of them. He's always giving them an out ball. He's happy to hit the touchline and cross the ball over. And for that alone, I'm looking at Ralston now and by the way, I feel a wee bit for Juranovic because I think he's a better right back. But I think that we're weaker on the left-hand side. So the decision yesterday for Ange to move Juranovic out left and play Ralston on the right, I think was the right decision. And I'm looking towards not just Thursday night, and I'll start with yourself, Amy, but moving forward. What's your thoughts on our strongest fullbacks? I think Ralston yesterday was brilliant. I mean, we'll talk about the winning goal and his part in it. Tony's already mentioned that the cross was superb, and not for the first time this season. But I'm now looking at the situation thinking to myself, Ralston's back to being your first choice right back, but Juranovic is your first choice left back. What's your thoughts on that, Amy?
It's a tough one because as much as I'm Tony Ralston's biggest fan, was his only fan last year, I do also play a part in the Greg Taylor fan club, so I'm really, really split right now. But if you're going, I want my best players to play in their best position, and but it's so tricky because Juranovic is still then probably the best when he's out on the left. It's a crazy conundrum to really have. It shows you how good a player Juranovic is, which we all really do already know. But he's just so versatile. But I think in contribution to the third goal yesterday, it was both Juranovic and Ralston down that flank. Juranovic started off and Ralston was on the overlap. It shows you how good Juranovic still is. Down his correct side, and on the right. So it's really, really tough. Juranovic it has to be first choice right back, but then do you play him out on the left where he's still probably probably is better than Greg Taylor, then, you know, Ralston's a perfect fit in. You know, he's not really put a foot wrong when he's been dropped. It's not been anything because of his own fault. It's purely been because of the standard that Juranovic does play at. I think it's a really, really tough call. And again, I think if you had to ask me, I do just want my best players to play in their best position. But you have to try and look at the width of the team, really, and look at it across the board. Did Celtic probably play better yesterday with Ralston and Juranovic? Potentially, yeah. But do I think Juranovic was quieter? We obviously discussed that before Tony came on. Although he's trying to get forward, you know, obviously... perhaps that was more because it was Maeda in front of him. If he had Jota, does that change it? I think it's going to take a lot of tossing and turning, really. It'll be interesting to see what happens on Thursday. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. You know, I think that's really where you're looking at when the team's announced. Well, to be fair, you're also looking at the midfield because there's such strength and depth there. But I think that now we have reached a stage where the back four isn't a shoo-in. And yeah, I've totally managed to avoid your question really rather well without answering it. So go to Tony.
It's because you're an honorary member of both the Greg Taylor and Tony Ralston fan clubs. There's a lot of people reckon Ralston should be the right back, and that's a good point. I think domestically, you know, Ralston loves that rough and tumble, and you know, he took a bit of abuse yesterday, physical abuse. There was 2 or 3 late challenges on him, and he just gets back up and he goes again. And as I say, what I like about him, he's always given an out ball, which is you know, that's you're looking at Jota and O'Reilly, and as tricky as they can be and as quick-footed as they can be, sometimes they're running into packed defences, and all you need is that overlap, and Tony always gives that. And I think that Juranovic suffered at the weekend, like you said, Amy, through having Maeda in front of him, who doesn't look that strong down the left, albeit he plays a part in the second goal, Tony. So is it a case of looking at the 2 fullbacks, but also the 2 wingers in front of them and saying, well, if we can bring back Abada on the right, Jota on the left, you're far more confident with Juranovic left back, Ralston right back. What's your take on that, the wing situation down the right and the left?
I think it's a decent, nice wee luxury and headache to have for the manager. You know, if you're asking me, our 2 best players yesterday were Giakoumakis and Ralston. I think anybody would doubt that. What about Ralston's celebration when Giakoumakis headed that in? The only other player that would have scored that goal would have been Tony Ralston himself, because he'd have flung himself at it like that. But he can't cross the ball to himself, can he? That's why he was so overjoyed that he put the ball in to where he thought his man should be, and lo and behold, he was there, and that's why he went mental. But that's what Ralston provides you as well. You know, and if he's not crossing in and someone else is crossing it, Ralston would have been up there.
Yeah.
Sure, right? Mm-hmm. As he did in Dingwall. You know, and the comment that came in there, Ralston is suited to these kind of rough and tumble games. It's his game. He loves it. You know, and he'll gallop forward and he won't stop. And the one thing you'll get from him is a shift, right? An absolute shift, which a lot of people say is a prerequisite, right? But he's now added, he's got, 5 goals, I think, this season, Ralston? I believe it's 5.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a load of assists as well. You know, so that's something else that going forward in the last 11 games of the season, Ange knows, you know, that he can provide to the team. And yeah, I'm still a lover of players playing in their natural position, like Amy says. But it's hard to leave guys like Ralston out the team when he plays like he did yesterday. I'm also a yellow jersey man. See, if you've got the jersey in a Tour de France style, then it's up to someone else to take it off you. And in the last couple of games, people had been very critical of Greg Taylor. So, and if Juranovic has shown that he is versatile and he can play there, so if you're going to get results with Ralston at right back and Juranovic at left back, then it's maybe worth considering. I don't like tinkering with the team too much, though. You know, you've got 11 massive games in the league coming up. But the manager's a kind of horses for courses guy, isn't he? And he's proved that he is. And, you know, so, but every time you put Ralston in the team, he doesn't give you a reason for you to put him out it, does he?
No, he doesn't.
He turns up and he performs, and it's to his credit, because unlike Amy, I wasn't in the Tony Ralston fan club. But my admiration for what he's achieved this season knows no bounds. And I've said before, and I'll say it again, he's shut guys like me up and continues to do so. And there's nobody more delighted about that than myself. And he's had a consistency of performance which I thought was beyond him. But again, back to the fact that I credit the manager, the man management that he's in the work that he's put into Tony Ralston, and I credit Tony Ralston for clearly listening and taking it on board and working on deficiencies that he might have had in his game and improving no end. And I'm with Amy on this one. I really do think it's a dilemma, but it's a wonderful dilemma for the manager to have going forward. But I think you'll see a lot of Ralston. I think he just epitomises the kind of spirit and energy in the team this season, and I think a lot of Celtic supporters have loved that about him.
Yeah, I think when he came in and you had the initial run of games, you're asking yourself, is it a flash in the pan? And he's proved, like you say, Tony, that he's done it consistently over a period of time. Went in and out the side, still comes back in, still performs to the same kind of levels. Peter Campbell's asking why I'm desperate to play Juranovic left back. We should always play our best players in their best positions. And as impressive as Ralston has been this season, he is our second best right back. I agree with you. He is. But Greg Taylor's our second best left back. Mm-hmm. So Juranovic, for me, is better than Taylor at left back. And that's the reason why. And I think that if you've got Abada right, Jota left, then Juranovic, albeit he's out of position, it's less noticeable because he's got the out ball in Jota. I don't think he had the out ball yesterday in Maeda. Maeda obviously assists for the second goal. Giakoumakis puts us 2-1 up. But there was a few misses, back post headers, things like that, Amy, that I'm looking at thinking you need to be more clinical there. Do you think that we're in a situation where we know Kyogo's out, we don't know for how long specifically, Giakoumakis has the jersey, Maeda's had a couple of run-ins, but moving into Thursday night, I would expect Maeda to drop back down to the bench and for us to bring back Abada. Is that harsh? I mean, obviously he contributed yesterday, but I don't think he contributed enough.
Yeah, it's tough, and as I said earlier, it's not a criticism on him in any way. I think it just shows right now the strength amongst the Celtic side. I think Giakoumakis is through the middle. I think there was a lot of surprise, perhaps he didn't actually start on Thursday as well. But I think he will offer something different, and if I was at the game on Thursday as well. Bodo team, they are massive. They are huge, like from front to back. It was my dad. He went, "My God, I thought number 9 was big." And then you looked at, I don't know, the 25 or something. But they're a really big physical side as well. So I think Giakoumakis will contest a little bit better. And I like the speed of Maeda. When there's perhaps half an hour to go, you just bring him on when the defence, are tiring. And he just, like, again, stretches, offers something different. So I do expect Maeda to drop to the bench. But again, perhaps not totally on his own performance, but I just think that there are others perhaps playing a little bit better than him right now. And like I say, obviously, we do need to remember how long a season he has just played behind him. He's not had the rest of recuperation that perhaps, we'd like him to have. So I still think he's an absolutely fantastic option. He's a fantastic, acquisition as well. And I know there's a lot of comparisons, and I think a lot of the comparisons are unfair. And I do think he will prove to be a massive player. He's not came... he's came with a hype, for a reason, because he absolutely ripped up the J League, and I fully suspect him to do the same here. And I do think that he does still have a massive part to play in these 11 last games in the league. But I think right now, just the way that Giakoumakis, evidently, we all know the confidence that he's got. So I think as much as it's important for the team, I think it's important for him that he does start. And then Maeda can absolutely come on, finish the job off, and really continue that nuisance really in a totally different way.
Yeah, I do like that idea of having him for the impact of the last 30 minutes to inject that energy. His space is frightening. I said that after the first time I seen him. Actually, he's going to be a nightmare for goalkeepers because he's right down their throats. Yesterday, I bumped into a chap, James from Wick, big ACSOM fan. So if you're listening, James, brilliant to have a wee chat, a wee powwow with you yesterday. It's great to hear where all the ACSOM viewers and listeners are from. We don't always agree, but that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's all about the debate. And also, a big shout out to whoever it was that was sitting in front of me who, when we were celebrating, a lad felt the need to kiss me, and all the emotion and the hype when we scored. That's what happens when you're at the game. Fair enough. No problem at all with that. And a big shout out also to our sponsor, Who Knows Wins. Now, what you can do with regards to this is there is a app that you can download. It's in the description field underneath. Kevin Graham got involved and won a few quid at the weekend. And basically, you're in a little league where you're predicting the top 10 picks. And what did he do? Did he put £1 in, I think, Kev? He was telling us on the WhatsApp. And it came out. Aye, so there you go. Get involved. There's going to be a lot more information down the months in relation to Who Knows Wins. They are our official sponsor. Now, I want a wee prediction from you, Tony, because we won't see you until Friday. So give me a prediction for Thursday night.
Ooh. I'll say... tough one. I think 2-1 Celtic.
Yep, I agree with you. I think Celtic will get an early goal. I think we'll win the game and we'll lose the tie. Amy, what about yourself?
Nah, I'm going to go much more confident. I'll go 3-0.
Oh, I like that confidence. Love it. It's been an absolute pleasure. What was that?
Perhaps stupidity.
No, I like the confidence. I like it. I liked Giakoumakis' confidence in the presser as well.
I was going to say, Jack.
I like it. It's spreading. It's spreading. The confidence and the momentum is spreading into the ACSOM team. Thanks, everybody, for getting involved. Remember to like our video. Click the like. Help us with the algorithm, whatever on earth that is. And subscribe to us on YouTube. We've got some massive guests lined up and features as well. We're going to be travelling all over the place from Liverpool, Manchester, London, and even Hamburg. To capture some content and get it out on the channel. So subscribe, click the notifications bell and be part of a Celtic State of Mind. Thank you everybody for getting involved, and to Amy Canavan and Tony Haggerty for joining me on a Celtic State of Mind.